we go. Is this one mine? Okay, it's 6 PM, and we'll call this meeting of Public Works and Highway Committee to order. Attendance shows all committee members are present. We will entertain approval of the minutes for three dates, March 1st, March 7th, and April 4th.
Motion to approve the minutes from March 1st, March 7th, and April 4th.
Second.
Any comments or changes to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to speak to something on the agenda? If it's on the agenda, I would suggest waiting till that item comes up. But if it's something else, please come up to the podium now. Nobody? Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business. The intersection of Concord Road and Nagbor Drive. And this was the stop sign research, I believe. Yep. Your microphone isn't on.
So John is from Taddy, and he is the traffic engineer that did the review for us that we hired out for the traffic study to be performed. And the question at hand, and it was brought to us by a petition of residents in the area of changing the two-way stop intersection of Concord and Nagbor to a four-way stop intersection. And to clarify the matter, we went to the experts. We went to a traffic engineering firm and to get the results, and there was a report formalized. And I'll let John explain that and the recommendation that came from it.
Thanks, Larry. As Larry mentioned, we were hired by the village to conduct a traffic study at this location to evaluate if an always stop control would be an appropriate traffic control device for that intersection. It's currently two-way stop control. We collected an intersection turning movement count. So we know how many vehicles were going through the intersection and what directions they were turning. And the village was also collecting speed data along Concord Avenue or Concord Drive, Concord Road. And they provided us with data for over 1,000 vehicles that were going down Concord Road. The results of the study showed that the observed speeds and crash history of that intersection were consistent with the existing two-way stop control being the appropriate level of traffic control for the intersection. To meet always stop control warrants, volumes would need to increase substantially at that intersection, probably about 14-fold. To get to the level that minimum thresholds for volumes to meet always stop control warrants would be met. The reason there are those warrants is because if you started putting stop signs at all intersections like this, people would then begin to disrespect stop signs and stop obeying them on a consistent basis. So our recommendation was to keep the two-way stop control. And as far as the speeds, speeds are a concern for everybody, especially on a neighborhood. The profile we saw, average speeds are just about the speed limit of 25 to 26 miles per hour. It did not reach a level that warranted some type of engineering countermeasure to change the roadway to impact speeds. That would be an expensive improvement. Our recommendation in the study is to encourage residents just to be proactive if they're concerned about speeds throughout their neighborhood. There's a couple of resources for getting signs, yard signs that say like, please slow down, children present, things of that nature. And, given the data we collected and the circumstances of this intersection, we felt that that was the appropriate recommendation.
I have a question for you. How long did you collect data on this? How long did this study go on?
Sure, absolutely. We collected the turning movement count data for 13 hours. So we basically got a full day of the turning movement count data. As far as the speed data goes, we collected, I have the dates here.
March 20,
February
20.
1st through February 24th.
So that's pretty long, but then like the turning data, is that typical 13 hours? Is that,
Yeah,
couldn't
that's,
one day be different than another, you know?
it varies very little in a
Yeah.
situation like this. Yeah, that's a thorough sample set.
Okay. The committee?
So
Comment?
I did read the report. I thought it was great. Thank you very much. I'm, you know, I remain skeptical about taking these studies in what is the middle of Wisconsin winter, but it is what it is. So my question would be does it make any difference on what streets the stop signs are on? So for example, now, I think the primary concern is to break up that long straightaway.
Right.
If we move those two stop signs to the adjacent corners, does that help at all?
Great question. And typically you would put the stop signs on the lower volume roadway, which it currently is.
Yes, that's correct.
So, I have not encountered too many situations where we would flip it, even though the overall volumes were warranted. And I could see that as being a situation where, well, hey, if we put stop signs up, you know, on Concord, maybe that would slow people down.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that used very successfully. Stop signs, it's very clear in the MUTCD and the laws that dictate traffic control signs not to use stop signs with the purpose of slowing people down, because it really hasn't been shown to actually be that effective, because people will then just accelerate and drive faster in the time.
To make up for
To
the
make
time
up
they had
for
to
the
stop.
lost
Yep,
time.
I know. Okay, thank you. And again, I am appreciative of going through this for those residents that were concerned.
Committee, do I have a motion?
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
Depending on what we do here, and I agree with the study that you did, I thought it was excellent. How will this be communicated to the residents living in that area? Because I know there were several that came, right, to
Mhm.
this meeting, maybe?
Yes.
So that's a question I have, is how will it be communicated?
Well, first of all, will this have to go to village board or not?
I don't think, I don't know that it has to,
Based on committee's decision.
but you know what? I would put it on, I would at least put it on the consent agenda. And that way, if somebody wants to pull it for discussion, we have it there. I would do that.
It's committee's choice, how you want to do, how you make your motion to do it. I'm not quite sure how would be the most effective way to address that group of people. I mean, we have the website, we have Facebook, we can put it on, but it's not assured that group of people
Right.
would all be informed with that.
Do we have anybody on this committee that represents that district?
It's me.
Okay. Were there some key people that were here that you know?
There were some key people that I had.
You want to come up and ask any questions or?
You need to.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you'll have to switch at the podium there. There.
Jeremy Wilson, N98W16988 Concord Road, right on the corner of the intersection there. Thank you for, I did see your people out there doing the study. They parked right next to my house. It was a little weird to see somebody else out there for 13 hours, but it was great to see somebody. I have the same concern as one of you as well. This is in the middle of winter time. Now we're getting closer to spring and summer. There's going to be more kids, people walking. I know right now we've got a lot of kids outside playing on their bikes, a lot of walkers. There was concern by one of the village members about the last version of the petition. It went around again with new people. We have more and non-same households. So before I had 73 names, which most of those were kind of two to same households, so maybe 36 different households. This one has 76 signatures, and I would say 65 or more are all from different households. I really walked around. I believe Dennis Myers was going to be here tonight. I don't know what happened to him. He walked around with me to a lot of these households. He heard them as well saying it's still a concern. We want to keep talking about it. And if it does go to the village board for May the 23rd, I am going to be having as many of these people that signed it here with me and their kids and everybody else to say, this is still a concern. I understand, according to the numbers, it needs to go up, but just seeing what it is, something still needs to try to help. I understand if it's signs, I know a lot of people look at signs and go, oh, cool, somebody's voting for this or voting for that, and they don't pay attention to that either, just as much as a stop sign. And I know we've got a lot of kids lately, just this weekend, counting the number of cars I had to see stop and just all of a sudden swerve a little bit because they are riding their bikes, they are walking, there is no sidewalks, no areas for them to go. People are going to slow, or we will sooner or later have an incident. And then if we have an injury, what happens?
I have a question regarding that. Speed is your issue, careless driving, kind of.
Reckless.
Yeah,
speed,
whatever you
careless
want to
driving,
call it.
free, it's all in the same general ballpark. I know it's different classifications.
And this study was taken, what, February, March?
February through March. The roads, I mean, during that time period, if I remember correctly, and John can.
Easy
correct me,
winter, I know.
It wasn't a bad winter. The roads were clear at the time, so
Yeah.
the driving conditions and characteristics of the drivers, I don't think would be changed. I think it'd be very representative of now.
I don't think the volume would change or the turning would change in that 13 hours, but I wonder when the kids get off from school, not that, I mean, that's always just, we had that in my neighborhood and we had to wait till they matured out of it. It was like one season and then finally the teens went off to college and they were gone. But boy, was it an irritating summer. But Larry, is something like tracking the speed limits going through there, is that something, that's something we do in-house, isn't it? Or
We-
can't we?
We did that, and
I'm
which
just-
missed my mind, John. We had very few people, speed limit is
In winter,
25
right.
there. The average speed was between 25 and 30. Once in a while, we had a 38 or a 39, I think, very seldom that would spike at that. But there was no one speeding through at 50 miles an hour. There was
Yeah.
nothing registered, a crazy.
Well, my only thought, and I, like I said, I don't live in your neighborhood, but my only thought is in summer, usually more people are out and about and driving around, they're off from school. Would it be costly? Would it be difficult? Or would it be possible to, like, the month of June for a couple of weeks, just track the speeds with either the police equipment or something, just to see what's going on?
I think our equipment is still sitting out there. I think I
So
don't know if
that
it's still
probably,
on or
maybe
not. but
that
we
would
could
be
just turn it
something
back
worth
on.
doing.
So what did the study cost?
$6,000, I think, something around
Yeah.
there.
So I do understand the study. I do also have to say that I own a corner lot. I have a four-way stop sign. And by this definition, I should not have a four-way stop sign. So I do know that there are exceptions made in Germantown. I would like to see this go to the village board. I would again like the residents have a chance to speak and show up.
And this would be next week, correct? It would be on
It'd
the.
be the next board
Good.
meeting.
But my other thought would be, and whether you want to bring it up at board or not, would be that we do, unless you think that might make sense, to do a couple weeks in June.
I agree.
Before we go to the village board. I mean, in other words, take another look at this in summertime. Would that be doable? Have to ask our director.
I believe the equipment is still set up.
Wait, Scott. Oh, you have. So with this, and this data in here just takes it for,
Just the grab of that month so that they could do their report, their study. and
so this grab is from March? Okay, so we have April. And we could leave it up through May. And then take a look at it maybe back here the first week in June?
That would be fine. And I would love to, I know she's not here,
Yeah.
but if you would pass the message to, is it Miss Pieper or Piper?
Yes.
Sure.
She
Uh-huh.
had made a comment, oh, I would love to sit out there with you with a radar gun, but I won't do it in the wintertime. I would love to put her to, whatever
Well,
she said.
basically, that's what we have out there is 2 radar guns.
Yeah.
That are mounted, continuously monitoring anything that comes past there.
So that wouldn't be a big deal to collect that data, Larry, for, I mean, to look at what we have for April and May and add like all of May to it and then right up to our first meeting in June? Can we do that pretty,
So
Without a lot of trouble.
bypass the next meeting in May
Exactly.
and bring it back to the.
don't
June
take it
meeting?
to the board yet, because let's see what happens now that, maybe, is June good? Like, that would be April, May, and the first week
I
of June.
think that would give a better snapshot. My only caveat to that is if it's right in the beginning of June, that's when the school is out. And then finally, that's when
'Cause June-
families and kids will be starting to be more on the roads.
The other option is like we meet once a month.
I
So you'd have to wait till that first week in July.
I understand.
Because the kids don't usually get out to like the 15th or something like that.
And I mean, we've kind of had to live with it for 2 years while we had to wait for it to get on the board.
Yeah.
If we have to go that far, if you are willing to, I'm not opposed, but I'm willing to work with you guys as much as you guys are trying to work with me.
I'd like a snapshot for that final week in June. And the reason why I'm asking that is the traffic patterns drastically change once school has
Well, the
ended.
speed, we're not going to get the patterns because we're not using TADI for
The speed,
this.
that's.
This is going to be the speed
That's-
and
that's fine.
reckless driving or whatever. Yeah.
Well,
Traffic, right?
my suggestion is we run that data back through TADI because they're the ones we're relying on a professional advice on. And if they come back with the same recommendation, I mean,
Okay.
that's going to be the recommendation. The committee and the board trustee members can do, whatever you want to do with that information.
Right.
You can overrule the expert findings and you can say, hey,
Sure, we know.
Yeah.
We know.
DPW, put up 2 more signs, whatever you want to do. And again, we're collecting the data continuously anyway, so we can bring that data forward. I'm just want to see if we get some dates straight. So you want to do all of June through June?
First meeting in July then.
Then our first meeting in July would be probably with 4th of July, our committee. You want to come to committee first or the board directly?
Committee, I would come here first because
So it will-
it may not end up at the
Only
board
in
or
one
me.
meeting, and that'll be the 18th.
Let's take a look at July. For us, the 4th of July is on a Monday, and the 6th, I mean, it's not like I'm going anywhere that week. Would that week work for us? I could do the 6th to get it done as quickly as we can.
Sure.
So that'd be July 6th that week, okay? We just bring it back here, we see what the data says, and we see if we're satisfied.
Understand.
And if we find out that it's crazy, then we do something, take it to the board.
And I don't mean to put an undue burden of money on the village either to run these studies at $6,000 a pop when I know it probably costs, $500 to man hours and materials for signs, but we have to go through the process. Me being a government card holder for the military as well, I understand we must follow.
Well, this shouldn't cost 6,000 because it's our data and they're just,
Okay.
Taddy's just going to analyze it. So it's not going to be by any stretch that big of a deal.
Correct.
And that way for you, you get some satisfaction that we've done everything we could.
I
And
really
that's what we're
respect
here for. So,
And that's why I didn't bring everybody here tonight, thinking that they may be coming to the 23rd, but I'll push that back now.
perfect.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. So do we really have to do anything? I think we just,
Take a motion to,
motion to postpone it till the first meeting in
motion to collect
July.
additional data and
Yeah,
bring it
that
back
would
to
be
the
good.
July, whatever meeting.
Make a motion to postpone until the July meeting of Public Works.
Second
Committee.
that.
And to collect the extra data.
And to collect. the-
Yeah. Okay, have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Are we good? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, next, I would like to make a motion to move K, Construction Manager for new Department of Public Works facility, to the next position in the agenda, taking the place of A. And I'll put that out there so we can let this gentleman leave at some point. Do I have a second? Motion and a second, and we will vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay,
So I'll start off. I have with me Mike Paulus from Grafe. He's the lead project engineer manager for the Public Works Facility design and development. So we're getting along on I'm just going to read some of this. You read it already, so like I usually do, I kind of go through this. We're nearing the final design of the building. We're down to counting the number of light switches and number of bolts and nuts and things like that. So we're looking forward to bidding this project out. And when we do that, we would need to have a construction management services consultant manage the whole project. The way that it was felt best to do that was to get a construction management company that did not self-perform any of the work. And that's difficult to find in the market today. Most construction management companies like to perform some of their own work. And the ones I've talked to, I'm not into the building industry that much. The ones I've talked to, they like doing that because they can control their schedule more and they probably get a more profit out of doing their own work and everything. Well, it turns out when you have a company like that on board, you're not going to get the number of competitive quotes on other different disciplines of work that needs to get done because a lot of subcontractors won't bid against the general contractor's crews. They just won't. So we put out, Mr. Kreckler put an RFP together and put it out on the website to advertise it. He put it on his LinkedIn account because he has a lot of people on there. We got one quote back from Moore Construction. Moore Construction has been involved with the design of this DPW site for quite a few months now, helping Grafe as a consultant and basically as a cost management type company. So as we go through design, they're advising on costs of different factors, types of construction, and coming up with cost estimates for us from a construction point of view, rather than an engineer trying to slap some numbers onto an estimate. And I brought Mike here tonight to explain maybe more in detail why it's a good option to have a construction services manager that does not self-perform.
Okay.
So,
Thanks, Larry. Thanks for having me this evening. And there's two different delivery methods for a project such as this. You can do the typical standard design, bid, build, or hire a CM, construction manager. In a case like this, as Larry mentioned, Mike Moore of Moore Construction, who's the president owner, has been with us every step of the way. And we've been working this project for, I think, a year and a half now, through the needs analysis and now through the CD phase. Mike's been instrumental as far as keeping us on budget. As we all know, we're living in some really strange times right now with certain items such as steel has very long lead times and the prices are going up, no pun intended, but through the roof. So as we have our monthly meetings, developing the plans and the drawings, Board's been on board. They're very familiar with the project and the plans, and they've been keeping us on cue where we are price-wise. So there's hopefully we're trying to avoid the big surprise at the end. One big advantage of having CM on board is we can take the project, and having CM on board, you still follow all the public bidding laws. That won't change. But what we'll do, certain packages such as steel that has a long lead time and it can be very pricey, we can separate out certain packages along the way and get those out sooner. You can have a package for steel, package for this, package for that, and get it out with the street and get multiple bids. If you go the typical design, bid, build, we have to wait till everything's done, the whole project, and put it out in the street and get one number. And it's hard to determine how the numbers came in for certain disciplines. So I would, my recommendation is for a project such as this, we've worked with Moore before in other projects. They're fantastic. Actually reached out to one of their current clients. Moore does a lot of work for City of New Berlin. And I reached out to Greg Kessler, who's their development director, this morning. And he responded that, just to read the quote right here, he said, frankly, their work has been exceptional, especially these times that we have issues with in the market, uncertainty in the market and supply chain issues. They've been great as far as keeping us on track and on budget. And I know every project that New Berlin does as far as they're actually completing a DPW addition right now, cold storage buildings, and they're also building a rec center for the city. And New Berlin uses strictly Moore for anything they do, construction-wise, project-wise. So they think very highly of them. Any questions on construction
Yeah.
management or?
I have a question. So does this actually in the long run save us money? And was it in the budget for this?
yes, it was in the budget, and we anticipate it will save us money from the aspect that once we have a CM on board, the intention is that once we're contracted with him and certain drawings are done and materials can be ordered, they'll place the order right away.
What? Yeah.
So if we know what the steel order is for the roof trusses and everything, they can place that order. And you get the order placed now before maybe the prices go further. And you decrease the delay in getting your building constructed because you can put the order out now. And maybe you don't need it for 6 or 8 months, but we get that lead time of 3 or 4 months lead time. And so it coordinates more with a schedule.
So you're
we-
comfortable with this, Larry?
We think that works. I had a couple conversations that I'll add. I talked to Tom Olinichek at Harwood Construction, and they do a lot of design and a lot of building construction. And they have worked with, and currently working with Moore as construction management, and they have had nothing but high references for them. I also talked with Mike Moore. I said, Mike, I don't have a comparative bid for you. Can you give me some examples? And he did relay the example of City of New Berlin to me. And he said the bid he bid there was at, it's hard to say, but there's two quotes in the bid, and one of them is the percentage of the construction volume, dollar amount. And he bid 2.25% on our contract. In New Berlin, he bid 2.75%. And I said, why the difference? Different construction, different buildings. He says, no, I'm very familiar with this project. So my cost would be lower because I'm already in tune with
Okay.
what's going on, and he understands the building already. So he doesn't have to, there's no risk for him in not seeing something on the plans. So I feel very confident with Mike. He's been very helpful through the project. The Amazon building that was redone, or Penny's building that was redone, the Amazon building, More Construction did that. They're doing a apartment building in West Dallas right now, near the farmer's market. So checking his references, he has very high references, very high integrity in finishing his work. He doesn't take a bid and then go with his hand out looking for all the changes and extras right away. So
Okay.
very comfortable with him and doing our project.
And I guess my other question would be, normally we do like to get more than one bid for any type of work like this.
Yes.
But what I'm hearing is it didn't appear to be possible to get more than one bid.
Right, right. And Mike, I don't think you misspoke, but the words make out, you mentioned design build. Design build for us is still against state law. Our attorney would not allow us to do a design build from some of my contacts that are building buildings in our industrial park. Bryan Construction is one that comes to mind. I asked them, they wouldn't even look at this because they strictly do design build. They design their building, they build it. Myron Construction was contacted by me. They self-performed their signature to 5 unions. Well, if they get it and they bid that out and they're willing to build it out publicly, we feel that the number of competitive bids you would see against a general contractor bidding other crews at them, that would be limited bidding. We feel this is the best way that we would get multiple bids on every discipline of work we're going to do.
Okay, committee?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to recommend the approval, let me see here. The Public Works and High, hold on 1 second, I just got to read it. That the village enter into contract with More Construction Services in the amount of 2.25% for construction phase fees at approximately $603,451.
Can I correct that? It's
Yeah.
two numbers. So it's 2.25% of the construction phase fee, and the other numbers for general conditions.
What is general condition?
That's everything from dumpsters to porta potties to all the other things that they're in the contract. I could read them to if you'd like. It's listed in the RFP.
Responsible for-
Okay, so I missed that. All right, so it's 2.25, which is approximately $630,000, and it's general conditions in addition to that for $603,451. I apologize. I didn't put those two numbers together.
Have a second?
A second. So we're talking a total then of roughly $1.2 million.
Yes,
And it's in the budget?
yes,
It's part of the building budget, right?
the building budget.
And I
It's
like
within
the
our
idea of-
estimates.
I like the idea of having a party that isn't part of the build that's managing this.
And I believe for that first part, I think we had 3% in our estimates for the building construction.
And I think that, based on what they bid in New Berlin at 2.75, this is a half a point less. It's within all the alignment. It's actually a little bit better. So I feel pretty comfortable with this.
Comments, Bill?
Can I just, this goes to the village board, correct? Can we
with this
not
number.
put that in the consent agenda?
Not be on the consent agenda.
It'll go in new business.
So somebody doesn't come back at us?
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
It's too big to be buried anywhere.
okay, thank you.
No matter what your vote is, even if it's unanimous, we'll put it on new business.
Any more comments? If not, we'll vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Moving back to the original new business A, meter installation update. Thank you.
Beep if they're ahead.
Good evening. So tonight I've got some just updated information. And before I get into it, I would like to read the disconnection notice, and that's what's bringing me before you tonight, just so it's in the oral record. So it's titled Disconnection Notice. We're going to be putting in the address, name, location where the meter's at. So it goes on to say, "Dear utility customer, a letter was sent to your residence attached in early March of this year, explaining the need to replace the water meter that services this property along with the process and the reasons why. The Village of Germantown, through PMI Professional Meters, Inc., has mailed 3 separate install cards requesting you to call them for an appointment. Per PSC Code 185.3, 2, E, F, and H, we request you immediately call PMI at 1-855-215-5122 between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday, or 7 a.m. through 5:30 p.m. on Friday, or 8 a.m. through 1 p.m. on Saturday to make an appointment. You will have a 10-day grace period to comply and to avoid the inconvenience of service interruption or additional charges for reconnection and possible overbilling on your water bill due to the meter not being able to be read. The disconnection notice will be held off for 21 days if there is a serious illness in the home. In quotes, this will help enable the occupant to produce from a licensed Wisconsin physician required statement or notice for a public health, social services, or law enforcement official which identifies the medical or protective services emergency and specifies the period of time during which disconnection shall aggravate the circumstances. A property owner may also appeal the shutoff to the Public Service Commission at 1-608-266-5481 or online at psclogacomplaint.wi.gov. Thank you for your compliance, Germantown Water Utility. So just to update the board, the project is going real well. I mean, they're doing a real aggressive job installing meters. To date, we are at 965 meters installed of around 2,900 meters is what was originally thought we were going to be installing. They do them in like 5 zones based on street name, and they send out roughly 500 to 600 meters in all these zones. We are at the place of zone 1 that the 3rd meter card, so they send out 3 meter cards. First one, hey, please call. Second one, you might have missed it. Third one, little stronger language. Now that the people have not responded, we go down the next course of event and encourage them by a disconnection notice letter. It does motivate a lot of people. We might have, and it's hard to say, we could get all of them. We could end up with some disconnection notices, and that's why I bring this to you tonight, just in case you get calls.
Oh, well.
And I didn't know if I should send this to the full board as just a FYI.
Probably wouldn't hurt, but, you know, in case they get
For
calls.
reference,
Yeah. But what percentage haven't responded? Do you know, Paul?
Sure. So zone 1, we are incomplete by 81 meters
Out of,
out of 600 that were
Okay.
sent mailers. But again, it takes time for people to call. Some are on
Yeah.
vacation. So it does motivate folks. And as the zones get to that 3rd card, they do wait, I think, 2 or 3 weeks before they return them. It's called RTU, Return to Utility, and then we get involved.
is this also, I would hope on the website is somewhere where people can see this? Because everybody's affected by this, correct? Everybody's having a meter change.
Well,
Yeah.
the project has, but
Yeah.
this
That disconnection
Yeah,
notice for
we'll-
water.
yeah, we'll make sure it's on.
Yeah,
Before-
something where it's obvious, like, will your water be disconnected? Did you call us?
Sure.
I think you're right. You have to, if that many people aren't responding, you have to get strong
Yeah,
with it.
we'll make sure before they're mailed out that we will get that on the website. Yep.
So this is basically information only, correct?
Information, I didn't know if I think I got your point that I'll definitely email all the board members and just let them know this is going to be
And-
happening.
Yeah, and it has to be done.
Gary, I got a question.
Go ahead, Rick.
Just when it says call PMI at the number and call the utility office, if they make an appointment with PMI, they're not automatically off the list of disconnect?
They
You
would
need
be
to call?
immediately removed from the list. The reason, and I think there might have been, We actually, after that letter was put in your packet, we called PMI and they said they're going to handle all the remanded ones and they're going to handle it all. So
Okay.
if they call, they'll let us know right away and they will be taken off the disconnection notice.
Okay. Because, yeah, right now it says, and call our utility office to
Yeah,
get off
that
the
has been
list.
removed. So it would be a cleaned up letter.
Okay.
All right. And then I just saw one typo where it says 21 days. There's no space in between.
Thank you.
Bill?
Do we have the ability to push notifications to those people that have See-Click Fix on their phones?
I don't know. I can ask the question. That's
idea.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Facebook page wouldn't hurt either.
Yeah.
Get it out there. It
We-
affects everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, also, we do reach out to the PD and the fire. Sometimes people are more interested in what's going on there and they might see it, so.
Any more questions, comments? I think it's the right direction. We have to do it.
Okay,
Thank you, Paul. Moving on to the 5-year capital improvement program for Parks and Rec.
March 1st, 22. An explanation of 2 entries. The land acquisition. Second one was master plan is one developed. 2023. Investigation of these 2 values. Surely entered CIP. Should have waited. Plan. Finalized and approved. Report being approved recently by Park. Based on improved 2 years. I gather was that there was a study that wasn't completed. Estimating some values in late 2021 to.
Okay.
I amended the 2 numbers.
Okay,
According to
okay.
and all the recommendations, it's up for discussion, election required. We were brought to you the first time before, so I would be looking. Summer.
Do you have a motion? This was the hang up last time this came in front of us. It was a question. It was the only question. Yeah.
So what is the motion to approve the updated plan?
With that out of it. Yeah.
Make a
Which
mo-
can still change.
It can,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll make a motion to approve the amended capital improvement program, 5-year capital improvement program.
I'll second.
The only comment I have, is anybody on our committee here on Parks and Rec? What's the deal on that? I mean, are we going to buy parkland? I mean, because this seems to be putting it off, but that's just my quick look at this.
We've discussed that
Yeah,
in closed session at the village board, if
okay,
you remember.
okay. Well, all right, so it'll end up on here at some
Yes,
point in
ma'am.
time. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, moving on to annual MS4 permit.
So this is an annual permit that we're required to submit to SD. It's part of our special pollution discharge eliminating system. Sewer system. It's from contaminants, year, summer. This type of work as a consultant also train. Summer. Teach us how to do the testing, what chemicals to replenish our supplies with. Us, those people, we didn't staff it, but now we do. So this past year, this report. Same, it's pretty much
Mm-hmm.
same report, changed it. This year, you see the expense for Sweetwater does all the outreach and public education for all the communities involved in this four system. It's time and staff and sure as you have to input in the storm sewers. She's on the inlet sent enough, teach them in some cases. To 12,000.
Right.
So this is the report. Trustees for.
Okay. Committee?
Motion to move it to village board with a positive recommendation.
I'll second it.
Couple of comments.
Sure, Phil.
It says meeting date is February 6th of 2018. And then the attachment says the 2016 annual report.
This is my backup.
Time goes by, Larry.
Yep. The old template.
Time goes by.
Anything else? You'll take a close look at the dates and everything, right, Larry? Make sure it's clean.
Report dates, I think.
Okay. We'll vote all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Moving on to one of my favorite topics, the Buckthorn presentation.
Kim's gonna help me with this one. I'm just gonna a little introduction, we had, this came up in our December 8th meeting. Seems like an expert too on species. Still have to do research. Some statements and Tim had used through the years of information on church for this that it came from Wisconsin. So there is a list in here of municipalities that we contacted. She had lunch with the Director of Public Works down in East on seminar to what they do with Buckthorn. Distribute with them.
That's what I
They
figured.
didn't blink an eye. They didn't consider any repercussion that they were distributing seeds for Buckthorn. Some other ones we contacted, they didn't really know what Buckthorn was.
Yeah, yeah.
Deb called them, actually asked us to get back to them with what we decided to do. Tim can give us a better description of what, we have some of the history. Tim can inform us much better on what we should do.
Okay, so in August of 2018 is when we stopped accepting buckthorn at the recycling center once the berries were matured. And this grew out of a 3-year audit we have to do with DNR. These are recommendations that our DNR rep, she came out, she audited the facility. This is out of this study or out of this audit, we were required to do a stormwater management plan for the pond that's down there. And she wanted some kind of guidance or management of buckthorn receiving. Weird thing about the buckthorn management is it's not codified. It's recognized as an invasive species. Municipality doesn't have to do anything extraordinary to comply or not comply. It's not regulated, if you will. But working on best practices and using the guidance from UW Extension, we took it upon ourselves to be proactive, thinking that coming in the future, this is going to happen. So we stopped taking buckthorn at the recycling center between the months of August and basically May, because those are when the berries are most viable. And the guidance coming out from UW Extension shows that buckthorn is managed better at the source rather than spreading it by taking it from your yard, trailering it to a recycling center, because now you're spreading berries down every road you drive on, and then dropping it off
at the drop-off facility. A couple other things that happened is in spring of 2019 was the first year that we no longer took spring brush pickup to Wendland Nursery. Most of the brush that is out for pickup, for spring brush pickup, is cut between the months of April and May, when the berries are still on the bush and when the berry is most viable because that seed is ready to go into the ground and make a new plant. Anybody that's removed buckthorn from their own property has probably learned that if you do not treat the stumps, it's growing right back. It is a very, very tough plant to kill. At my own home, I cut down a thick patch of buckthorn under some spruce trees. I'm on year 5 of treating the saplings that are coming up. They're just tiny ones now. I can usually hit them once or twice with Roundup for the year. My buckthorn is gone, but it's taken 5 years to get it under control. Our brush pickup used to always go to Wendland Nursery. All the stuff, all the mobile operations always went to Wendland Nursery. Josh ground it down there. What he did with it, I didn't care. It wasn't our managed feedstock. As the operator of the recycling center, I feel that it is in our best interest as a village to try and not allow mulch to go out the gate that is contaminated with seeds of an invasive species. Do everything we possibly can to minimize that, whether it's in our compost or our mulch. The other thing is I didn't want a big outbreak to occur again at the recycling center after we've managed to remove the majority of it that was growing around the pond over the years. So we kind of did it as a proactive type measure. So if you look in your packet, there's guidance. The page looks like this. There's common buckthorn and glossy buckthorn. This is the guidance that was put together by the UW Extension. And this has been available to residents since we stopped taking it at the recycling center back in 2018. This was on over by Deb's desk. There's a brochure rack. This was on there along with what we have at the recycling center, which is further in your packet, which is pictures of the plant itself. So it shows the plant with no berries. It shows the plant in the flower stage, and it shows the plant where the berries are green. And then if you flip the page, it shows you all the phases of the berries. So once that berry transitions from green to yellow and is going from red to blue, those seeds are viable, even with the leaves on them. And this is the educational materials that we provided early on. At one point in time, believe it or not, it was on the village website. I don't know what happened to it. There was a tab under the recycling center that said buckthorn.
Should be there.
It was there. It's not there now. I don't have control over the website. I can't explain what happened to it. So that's kind of buckthorn in a nutshell. Why we don't take it curbside is we don't know what is in that feedstock, when it was cut down. The incident on Windsong subdivision, I drove by that pile at the request of Larry. I did not see any viable berries, but being consistent with our policy about brush pickup, I told Larry our recommendation should be that if the people want to bring it to the recycling center, I will notify the gate attendants to accept it from this residence only at this time because it's been inspected and there are no berries. But I think we had to be consistent with that message of we will not pick it up curbside.
And I think it was mentioned in here that the Waste Management takes it, correct?
Correct.
So people can take buckthorn to Waste Management if they don't want to burn it or whatever on their own property. I just want to be sure that I listened correctly. Okay, the berries are the issue, obviously, but you said August through May, you don't take it. What happens in June and July?
We do take it.
You do
So
take it in
if
June
you've
and
been to the
July.
recycling center in the last 3.5 years, there's a big orange sign right on
Okay.
the guard shack. You can't miss it as you're driving to pull into the gate. It says, when it's up, it says we are not taking buckthorn.
Okay,
When it's down, we're taking it.
okay,
So that's kind of how we let residents know that use the recycling center a lot. And the two people that work the gate have been telling people we'll be starting to take it here now in the next couple weeks. Once the leaves, see, what happens is once that leaf, the new leaf pushes, it knocks that berry off. So
Okay,
now you can cut it all you want until those berries reappear and start to transition from
Okay.
green to purple.
so you hope that nobody's held back a whole bunch of junk.
Correct.
I mean, it's no pure way of
No,
really
but
being assured, so.
we're trying
Okay.
to do the best
Sure.
thing possible.
Yeah.
It's going to be impossible to not take it at all.
Right. Rick?
Yeah, I agree that, first off, we need to get this information on the website and give the people the options that they have on this thing. And if you are taking it in June and July, that needs to be on there as well.
Explain why.
And explain,
Says
yeah,
no.
explain that portion of it. I wasn't aware that Waste Management took it. However, are they taking it like where a resident would drive in and do it? That gets very
There's
expensive.
a,
Well,
Based on our new contract, there is no breaks, and it's approximately $200 every time you dump.
it's 16 cents a pound with a minimum charge of $10 is what we were told
for the buckthorn.
for the
For
buckthorn.
the buck, okay,
For
so,
buckthorn.
so that's different than,
So-
you know,
Your cows.
clearing out a basement
Right.
or something like
Yeah.
that, okay.
So
That
you-
makes me
you
feel a
can-
little better.
You can figure $10 a trailer load because it'd take you a lot of pounds to get to 16 cents a pound to get up to the $10.
However, you still have the same problem as somebody's carrying it down the road and it's dropping berries
Yeah.
off the whole way to the dump.
Right, and that's why the recommended best practice is to treat it at its source, whether you shred it and just leave it there and then spray it with, you know,
Burn it.
some sort of Roundup or Garlon or whatever to kill
Yeah.
it.
So I've been fighting this, my tree lines since I've moved in. And some are, you know, they get 2-3 inches around, maybe bigger. What do residents do for that? Just burn it, huh? I mean, that's really the best option
The
at that
best
point.
option is to burn it because the heat of the fire itself will inoculate and kill those berries, and make them unviable. You know, but I
Okay.
understand also that, you know, in the subdivision, it's difficult because you got a smaller lot and whatever. But that's why there is the option to bring it to the recycling center.
Okay.
Is it desirable to be cutting down a bunch of buckthorn in July? No, because it's going to be hot and you're going to be, you know, but prevent the spread of it,
Right.
you know, that's sometimes what we have to live with to make the world better, I guess.
Okay, good, thanks.
Was for information only? I'm
I
sorry.
have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Phil.
What's the address and Windsong of the residents in question, please?
I'd have to look it up.
It was on a
It was a
corner.
corner lot. I'd have to look back at the email. I don't have that with me.
That's my house.
I don't think it was your name when they called.
That's my house.
Was it a younger couple cutting it down for you?
It was me.
We would have recognized your name on an email. It was emailed to us with pictures. Yeah, I just don't
But
have that
it may
information.
or may not be my house. So just, so I want to, I do have to say that. And the other very challenging for that neighborhood. So first of all, the stuff is all over Windsong and treetops right now. There are piles everywhere, right? So the ability to transport that stuff is, you know, you have to rent a truck or a trailer and load it up and carry it down the road. So there's difficulties there. To burn it is my neighbor and I are working on some buckthorn issues. To burn it in those subdivisions is potentially dangerous. Given, you know, what, I mean, there's a lot of it, right? So we are challenged as to what we're supposed to do with this stuff. It's an option to take it to the recycling center if you have the equipment,
The transportation.
the transportation, which I've done, right? But I've also contacted people about coming and hauling it away, and you get quotes of like $500, right? So we are in a pickle here, and we do need to supply some, or at least figure out some way to help our residents. Otherwise, this stuff is just going to continue to grow.
Quick comment, quick question. What was the one I read in here where they turned it into wood pellets for stoves? Yeah. Yeah. Where are they? Where are those people? We want their phone number.
Sussex.
So Waste Management in turn breaks it down and forms it into pellets for home heating. Now, Waste Management's doing that,
It's sold to Waste Management.
sold to,
So
not
it's-
we're
it's a
paying to,
revenue stream.
exactly, not that they're paying to drop it off. They're getting paid to provide their buckthorn.
Correct.
I'd like to look into that a little more.
That could just be one division that's out in that area.
Yeah.
like Sussex that may be doing that. We were not informed that they did that. We called Orchard Hill Landfill. That's what we called and contacted people there. So we requested to bring it back. Tim is the manager of the recycling center. We've been doing this for years. This is what was always been handed out. Have any suggestions?
Could they
that
burn
Mr.
at,
Hudson is presenting that,
could they ever burn at the recycling center, like once a year?
We have a
Just have
steel
this-
Christmas tree burn if you ever want to come and bring hot.
But see, we have a buckthorn burning, but like a once a year, like June buckthorn burning where we do collect buckthorn. Yeah, and say, hey, keep your other trash out of the buckthorn pile. We just flip it around. We want just buckthorn this year or something. Yeah,
The new stuff doesn't burn well. I mean,
No, it's gotta dry
it's,
out.
it's,
yeah,
You got to get it super hot.
you do.
And
Um,
that's another reason why it's so invasive is it like, you can't kill it.
You can't.
yeah,
You know, forest fires don't kill it because it doesn't burn, you know? I mean,
It's a very dense.
yes.
yeah.
dense
They actually
wet
said in this
liquid.
write-up here that the more mature, like, the 3, 4, 5-inch type trunks
It's
is a
pretty
very hard
aggressive
wood.
stuff.
They actually say it's a good wood. It's a hard wood. So I
Question.
don't know what you would you want us to look at anything else or?
well, a buckthorn pickup, I think, how much would that cost if we did have the village pick up buckthorn? I mean, probably way too expensive, but I'm just, and that would be a separate pickup potentially. Or like last year, didn't you say buckthorn could be in the piles without berries or something? There was some pickup in fall, I think, where it was allowed.
That was the initial.
Yeah,
That was the initial 2 brush pickups, because we started taking all that feedstock at the recycling center, and that's where we currently take it,
yeah,
because Wendland Nursery is no longer an option.
Right. Okay.
And just as a caveat, all the material that is produced at Brookfield is trucked to Wendland Nursery, and whatever Josh does with it, he does with it. That's not my responsibility, so
mhm,
Brookfield, just to say.
sure, yeah. Watch where you buy your mulch.
I guess to answer the question, hello, everyone. To answer the question about the special brush pickup, I don't have the numbers as far as the fuel and all that kind of stuff, but just as a general guide, we're getting ready to start next Monday, our spring brush pickup. That'll take 3 people roughly till the end of the month. So again, as I was listening to the conversation and starting to think about how would we separate out and,
Mhm.
okay, this brush
You
can
would.
go and this brush can't, we got to circle back for it. I mean,
We can't,
yeah, it would be really difficult and very time consuming. So just my
yeah,
2 cents there, I guess, as we're thinking through this.
yeah. So it's just a tough thing.
So is the intent this year just to leave those piles sitting there?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that right now because if I had a place to go with them, I would pick them up. But again,
Well, but your operators know to identify buckthorn versus
Oh,
other wood,
absolutely.
right? And
absolutely.
they just leave the buckthorn.
The
Yep.
same pictorial that's in your packet is in the center hall. So
They-
it was in last fall's brush pickup ad. That no buckthorn picked up curbside. It was in the spring ad. Brush
Mhm.
buckthorn would be site. Pickup tab or ad.
I'll add that there are some residents that will claim they don't know that they didn't know they had buckthorn, will intermingle it in the other pile, and our guys will pass up that pile of the good branches and we will get calls in the office. They went past my house and didn't pick up my brush pile.
Absolutely.
They
This
would
is,
pick it up because Deb would call Scott, and Scott
Yeah.
knows already because the truck drivers
And-
keep track of that address because they know there's going to be a call.
Well, and what's going on, particularly in Treetops and Windsong, is a lot of the people now are taking the buckthorn and they're putting it in the common areas. So there's the islands on the cul-de-sacs, there's the open spaces. And instead of piling it in your front yard, you carry it across the street. I am not doing this.
I believe it's happening.
You carry it across the street and it's this mysterious pile that appeared overnight.
The car tires showing up, you know?
And it's an eyesore for everybody.
Deb and I haven't yet lived through this and we're about to, but I know when Janice was still here, when we stopped picking it up curbside, I mean, that became a nightmare for us as well, because then you have people calling saying, I don't have buckthorn, which would, then I'd hop in the truck and go out and make sure. And I mean, it really is kind of a situation, no doubt about it.
So can we move the spring brush pickup to summer?
We can do anything. I guess my fears with that are we're in a transition. When we get done with brush pickup, we're going to start curbing, asphalt, summer construction. And again, I would be cautious about how that would impact the summer construction season.
I certainly didn't mean this
Oh, yeah.
year. I'm just trying to.
Look to the
you know,
future.
We have a problem in the village, and we're supposed to help our citizens solve problems. So, maybe we should go to and I understand it's hot and it's awful to cut the stuff down. But if that allows some way to get rid of the stuff, maybe that's the way to go. Summer and fall. Then at least we can address the invasive species.
I guess I'm going to just interject something here. This something that they always taught me in engineering. One solution to everything you always consider you do nothing. You do nothing would be, in my mind, you do what Brookfield's doing, which I don't think is the right thing. But we do our job at the bidding of the trustees. And I know Tim and I both agree it's not advisable to pick up the buckthorn and everything. But, if that's the one thing you'd want to do, we're advising against that. Try to find another avenue how to collect it for them. But it's an issue. It's just an issue. It's a timing issue. It's, if you delay it, and I know Scott wants to get some of it off the curb and gutter because maybe he's doing repairs in that area, when now there's piles of brush there. Or, he's done some other work, some sweeping street work, all of a sudden there's a pile of brush and it's buckthorn. So as you change all that, you can just affect the scheduling of maybe some other activities, So I, as a director, understand we would like to help the residents. I think everybody here would like to help the residents as best we can. Does that mean that we have a pickup truck with a special high back trailer? You go through and you pick it all up? I don't know. Can you chip that up, what you pick up on the street? Is that stuff grindable, the pull behind grinder? Is that gum up the teeth? I'm just trying to spitball any ideas we have to resolve the issue.
Yeah, and I'll just say it out there again. This is not state code. This is a best practice thing. So if you guys wish us to take it, we'll certainly take it. One thing we could look into, I had communications today with our rep from Waste Management regarding street sweeper disposal. And we always have the option from Waste Management of getting them to drop us 30, 40-yard dumpsters to put this material in. Now, there would be a cost associated with disposing of it, but that could be an option if we know that Windsong is going to do a subdivision-wide buckthorn eradication. We could get dumpsters dropped in that subdivision. They could fill them. What's the difference if you're dragging it out to your front yard or you're dragging it to a dumpster in the neighborhood? At least it minimizes the impact of tracking that material you know, from Windsong to the recycling center or whatever. That would certainly be something we could look into.
The trouble with the dumpster in the neighborhood is anything can get thrown into it.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
that'll
The
happen.
midnight disposal.
absolutely.
To the islands, you know, all of a sudden it piles up. What else are we gonna end up with it in there? All of a sudden you end up with a tire in that bin and they reject the load because it's not just wood fibrous material anymore. Now it's turned into a trash bin. Someone would have to be responsible or support or whatever.
And I guess,
Not a
you know,
bad
and then
idea.
another option would be is we contract out with somebody with a chipper and they go through the neighborhoods and they chip it outside of Scott's crews because they got enough of their own work to do. We chip it and then dispose of it and, you know, it just becomes a cost of
Where do they dispose of it? We don't care.
probably take it to waste management, but they would be able to
Okay.
dump on our behalf because they'd be our subcontractor.
You know, I think it's worth looking into that or into a pickup in June, if that's a safe pickup, switching May to June maybe next year. Just, I mean, let's look, or even if we have an extra pickup so people know, don't put buckthorn in this pile, but buckthorn maybe it's, you know, every year, every other year, I don't know. But I think you're right. I mean, I think we have to find some kind of solution because nobody knows what to do with it, you know?
Again, I would say too, like, game to try anything.
Yeah.
If we can
Let's
move
get the
it,
costs.
we
Yeah.
can see, you know, if we can do some construction work a little bit earlier in May, hopefully, and then we could take a little pause from that. And again, it's just coordination. I guess I just wasn't prepared to think about
No,
that
that's
today,
okay.
so.
What, maybe we can look at the costs and what we think might be a good month. If we did a third pickup, or if we did that first pickup combined with the buckthorn.
I do like that idea of maybe moving it to June if that works in scheduling. That seems to be a viable alternative here.
And that-
And it would be safe to pick up.
Weekend maybe,
Yeah.
you know.
And honestly, May is kind of tough to get your brush out anyway.
This would be another far-reaching option. What if we went from 2 annual brush pickups to 1 annual brush pickup in July, August? And then you could put anything and everything out there and it's not going to be an issue. But then you eliminate the one in fall and you're not going to do the one in May. You just do one big one in July.
I think let's look at it. Let's look at the costs involved and timing for you, Scott, with your men. And let's just bring back a couple of those options. Because I think Phil's right. I mean, I don't live in a subdivision. I mean, Rick and I are fortunate if we need to burn in our property, we can do that. But if you're in a subdivision, you can't burn it and you're trying to do your job to eradicate it and then it sits there. So I mean, yeah, it definitely is a problem, you know, 'cause we're probably only about a third of the village, people who can
Right.
readily burn something.
Yeah, I mean, we do, you know, so we do back up to Starlight and there is a guy back there that burns it. And he inconveniences 20 homes twice a
Yeah.
year with the smoke.
Yeah.
And that's the concern with taking it to the recycling center and burning it because we do have
Resident,
public
yeah,
and a
Yeah.
golf
Yep,
course
yep,
as our
And
main-
kids and all that,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And that's why we can get away with doing the Christmas trees because it's in the dead of winter.
right.
The fire department gives us their blessing. We torch them all on one day. It's a big fire. Couple hours, it's gone.
I think we could make a marketing thing out of that, Tim, kind of fun. Like a January, end of January, early February, when everything's boring. I'm serious. It'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Anyway, so is that enough direction? Does that help? To come back with a couple of options, like the cost and maybe one pickup a year? Or an additional pickup a year in
Or move the.
June or
the-
July? Yeah, either one big one or move this one so we can,
When do you want it back?
when you have time to bring it back.
Well, if he's starting brush pickup now, we probably wouldn't have data for June's meeting.
Okay.
I'm thinking July.
I mean, this isn't going to be effective this year anyway.
Yeah, it's too late until fall anyway.
No, but I mean, you know, by driving around the village,
Mhm,
honestly, most of the stuff we're picking up, it's buckthorn.
mhm.
Yeah, you can, if you know what the stuff looks like, you just drive around and you look at the piles.
Mm.
75% of what we're picking up is buckthorn.
And we would drive past those piles.
How long do the seeds remain viable, like when you mulch? Because isn't mulch supposed to kill all this stuff eventually?
Yeah, but it takes multiple, the key is to kill the plant,
Yeah,
you know, because the birds are still gonna spread it. The key is to kill the plant, and that takes years of
Right.
chemical application or pulling it out by hand,
Right,
or however you
right.
want to do it. I mean, I've had real good luck with actually just putting Epsom salts on the cut trunks.
Oh,
Kills them.
interesting.
It's toxic to them.
You have to drill in first?
No, you cut them off, and then you
Do the top.
paint the
fresh
top. It's a little bit, you know, I got dogs, I got kids, you know, I don't want to be putting a lot of chemicals in my
Yeah.
yard either. So that's one of the things I experimented with, because I had good luck in my garden, controlling garden weeds with it. The berries are viable starting about mid-August. That's when they start transitioning from green to yellow to red to purple. Once they hit purple, they're really bad. That they go through the birds, you'll see it on your cars all fall. You're transporting seeds everywhere.
Okay.
And the thing is, birds like to roost in spruce trees. That's typically why you see a huge growth of it underneath, you know, conifer trees, not so much on hardwoods.
Well, I guess the next question I have, it's too late to do anything this year. Brush pickup starts now. How much time are you going to waste, Scott, running around looking at piles and ticking constituents off saying, not taking it, not taking it? Or should we make an exception, just take what's out there at this point? Because it should all be out curbside by the 8th. So if it's not out,
Should be out by
yeah, if it's not out, I'm just saying, I mean, then start fresh. Because I don't know how much time you waste, but that is another thing that, is it worth your time and effort to be driving around, you
Yeah,
know?
picking through piles.
Picking through piles and then saying, oh, sorry, buckthorn, what are they going to do with it? They're going to let it sit there till fall.
But it's not, because like I said, it's not codified.
Right.
This can be the white, this is
shall
the
be
slate clean, so to speak. Let's move forward with a policy of moving
Yeah.
brush pickups later in the year, or eliminating spring and fall and doing one midsummer and just doing one. Get
Right.
rid of it all at one time, and we won't have an issue whatsoever with bringing it to the recycling center, because it'll be the time of the
I think
year
it
that
makes
it's
sense.
acceptable to take it.
Let's look into that for the future. And I think personally for now, I would say, take what's there. Don't waste your time running around. That's me.
And you're talking about next week, starting
Yeah.
next week. We need a
This-
motion
yeah,
for that?
starting
Because
this week.
I think for this spring one, I would make a motion to accept the buckthorn. It's already out on the curb, or it should be already. It was supposed to be out by the beginning of this week.
Except what's out there.
Monday.
And then review what we're going to do in the future.
And we'll bring that back
July,
at
whenever you
July's
can.
meeting,
Sure.
because we'll have data from spring. Scott will be able to better tell you how much it actually costs to do a
Okay.
pickup, and then I'll have the grinding event done for the pickup, so I'll know what the tub grinder costs are.
Sounds good to me. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, Bill?
Get a
I
motion?
think I should abstain on this. Because I got a big pile of buckthorn.
No, I wouldn't worry. I don't think so. It didn't. Okay, yes, right.
I hate to pile on, but
I see what,
leaves are an issue as well for a lot of people.
That is something,
And that is a separate subject, I understand that, but if you're going to look at this pickup, we should look at leaf pickup as well.
you don't want to do that, because that is something that's codified. Leaves can no longer go in the gutter of the street for communities that pick them up, because of the phosphorus it leaches into the storm sewer.
How are other communities picking that up? Are they just
They
doing
don't
it?
know how they're going to do it in the future, because
Okay.
this just got promulgated through in
It,
February.
it's a big issue because you can't burn leaves. And the only option is to, I guess, take them to waste management or take them to the recycle center, right? That's it.
I beg
You
'em,
can't
yeah.
burn them.
There's a
legally.
There's a ton of communities that invested thousands of dollars in equipment to gather them in the street.
Yeah. And
then
now that
suck
can't be
'em up,
done.
And they can't do it, because the leaves cannot go in the curb
Interesting.
and guttered area of the road, because they leach so much phosphorus. They have to stay on the grass terrace.
So
Or
Ra-
start your own big mulch pile.
That's the
what I-
latest
Where I live in West Dallas,
It's an issue.
they have a big front end loader with, like a plow wedge on it, but it's broom bristles. And they
Sure,
drive through
I've
the-
seen
They
that, yeah.
drive through the night and they go through all the neighborhoods and they make a big pile and they make a big pile. The next day they come in with a loader and their quad trucks and they're loading it out and taking it to their compost pile.
You almost
West
like a
Bend
vacuum
uses the
truck.
garbage trucks. They make a ramp out the back of the garbage truck. They have them fabricated.
Okay.
They take a skid steer and push them in and they haul them someplace. And now they're
They
gonna wonder,
disregard
what are they
my
gonna do
comment.
now with the new laws? What are they gonna do now?
Forget my pile on.
Okay,
So, did we have a motion that?
we have a
was-
motion, we have a second. Any more comments from anybody? We'll vote, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Good discussion. Moving on to fire station roof replacement project.
Thanks again. This is the first of several topics for me. I'll try to keep it moving along here. In part of the 2022 budget, we did have $70,000 allocated in our buildings and grounds budget for a roof replacement at the fire station. The roof is original. It is showing a lot of signs of age. We've had water intrusion in a couple areas. We do know that we've got some plywood issues on the roof. And so again, that's why it made it into the budget. We're obviously looking to correct that this year. The roof would be completely replaced. Any plywood, we do have a plywood allowance, which you'll see in the recommendation to cover a certain percentage of the plywood being replaced. There'll be ice and water shield. There'll be new valleys and new flashings around all the protrusions. So again, outlined here, the different costs that we received. And again, I'm asking, recommending that we go with Integrity Roofing. We're requesting $63,000, which is the project cost plus 10%. That contingency would cover the unknown plywood at this time and any unforeseen problems should they arise. If we get into something and find more rot, there'd be a little bit of money to handle that as well. And then again, if approved, the funding shall be allocated for Buildings and Grounds Capital Account 4519-570-8222.
Committee?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Integrity Roofing not to exceed $63,000 for the roofing of the fire department from account 405195708222.
I'll second.
Discussion? Hearing none, we shall vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Fire station exterior painting.
Again, along the same lines, same age, same building, so it's the same age. This building has never been painted. So we're looking to do that again this year, just to refresh the entire building. Not will it only improve the aesthetic value, but again, there's EFS on that building. And I think, starting to see, especially along the north side of the building, almost looks like mildew, but that's actually the paint is starting to wear away and EFS is gray underneath. So you're actually starting to see the paint disappearing so much that the EFS is showing through. So we want to, obviously for aesthetic reasons, we want to improve that, but it's also going to bring value to cover that EFS up again. While we're out there, we're looking at, any steel around the garage doors. Soffit and fascia will be cleaned and some decisions will be made as the project gets underway on whether we're going to paint them, but the cost to do it is reflected here. There's a little radio hut, if you will, on that property that's wood. That's part of this project as well. And then actually some of the lighting that's on the exterior of the building, there's some decorative lamps, both in the parking lot and on the exterior of the building. All that is covered under this project. Again, we went out and got 3 bids. You can see them listed here. We did go over slightly the budgeted amount of $25,000, but again, same line item as the roof. So we're coming out great on the roof and hopefully balancing everything out here. Obviously, our recommendation would be to go to move forward with MatCorp in an amount not to exceed $25,286. And from the same Buildings and Grounds Capital Account 4519-570-8222.
Committee?
Make a recommendation to contract with MatCorp for the painting of the fire station for the amount not to exceed $25,286, coming from capital account 405195708222.
I'll second.
Discussion? Any questions? We'll vote, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Library fire suppression, mainline replacement project.
So I typed a lot of stuff here trying to explain this, and rather than reading it all, I'm just going to start, I guess, with a little history. Obviously, for those of you that might have been around for a little bit, you might remember that we dealt with microbial-induced corrosion here at the Village Hall, and we've also dealt with it at the fire station. The Village Hall, I think, there was a learning curve involved in that. We were making a lot of repairs, trying to stay ahead of it. Learned along the way that you're not going to stay ahead of microbial-induced corrosion. Once it gets hold, it takes over. So we took what we learned here, and we made repairs here, and we improved what we did at the fire station by getting ahead of it sooner, not spending that money making the repairs. So again, we know that we have microbial-induced corrosion at the library. Here's a few other things we know. We know that we don't have a second floor. We know that we don't have easy access. We know that the pipe is moving through above ceilings where we have no access to walk and listen for leaks. It's protruding in and out of drywall as it's moving along. So there's a lot of situations where even in these two buildings, when we had a problem, we could easily get at it, find where the problem was, make a temporary repair, keep the system running. We don't have that same scenario at the library. So we're trying to be very proactive in what we're doing. The compressor that's part of that dry system is running frequently, which is a sign of a leak. So again, we've been aware of that since last summer as we were going through the budget process. Trying to be proactive, we put $120,000 into the library buildings and grounds capital budget. To date, we've spent $9,338 for our staff to construct a temporary working platform to work off above the office area. That work took place in-house, and we worked with Harwood Engineering to get that designed. Again, what we'll be looking to do is replace all of the Schedule 10 main lines, so anything 3 inches and larger would be replaced. That's Schedule 10. The smaller branch lines are Schedule 40. And what we found here, both at the Village Hall and at the fire station, is that obviously it takes longer for that to rot through. And we've introduced a nitrogen generator in these two buildings, fire station and Village Hall. And what that does is it takes the oxygen out of the system, and the corrosion can't survive in there anymore. So then you've improved the Schedule 10 by replacing it. You've improved the situation by taking the oxygen away, and you've slowed the progression on the Schedule 40. So we went out for bid. We did ask for 3 proposals. You can see that we received 2 back. Staff is recommending contracting with U.S. Fire Protection and amount not to exceed $91,586, which is the proposed amount, plus again a 10% contingency, just because we don't know, there's going to be certain things that we run into potentially. We want to just make sure there's a little bit there. And we've got the funding in buildings and grounds capital account 519-570-8251.
Me?
Any questions?
I have a quick question. How long, is this warranted? How long is this supposed to last? How is the village, I know we did it in Village Hall a few years ago now.
Yeah, it's been about 5.
So far, so good? We know that for a fact, or?
Yeah, we've had 1 leak here in 5 years. When this first started here, I'd say we were averaging about 12 leaks a year. Those leaks were always in the 4-inch main here, and we were spending anywhere between $1,000 and $2,500 each time to replace a section or patch a section. That was our learning curve, right? We're, oh man, this is costing a lot of money, which is why we went into the project the way we did. And again, since that time, we've had 1 leak. It wasn't a branch line. That was 2 or 3 years ago. But again, 1 leak in 5 years compared to about a dozen a year.
So they don't really warranty that this can't come back and eat the pipes up again, or?
No, they're not going to warranty that it can't come back, because again, it's already there in the
Yeah.
branch lines. You're just slowing the progression by taking the oxygen away.
Okay.
And again, dealing with a Schedule 10 pipe, which is probably roughly an 1/8 inch or 3/16 of an inch thick, compared to Schedule 40, where it's, a 1/4 inch or better. You obviously have time on your side with that. Trying to think, I've had conversations with people in the industry. I think they say, an average 40-year life expectancy on a dry system. We're probably premature over at the library. We've been premature here closer to 20 years on that thinner schedule pipe.
Ready? Motion?
Well, I can wait till there's a motion to ask a question.
Yeah, I would move for the approval of the dry fire suppression system for the library and award that to U.S. Fire Protection at $83,260 and add a 10% contingency from an amount of $91,586 to come from Building and Grounds Capital Account 4519-570-8251.
I'll second. Yes, Phil?
I need clarification on what fund this is from, please.
I'm sorry, on what?
So I need clarification or a consult as to there is a set amount of funds that is set aside for capital work on the library, which is under the control of the library. Is this from that fund or is this from a different fund?
No. Yeah, and I know what you're talking about because there's been some reimbursements and I've heard discussions going back and forth about reimbursing those funds. I don't know all the details to that. All I can tell you is that this is part of my budget that we presented back last fall. So the entire amount, whatever happens with the reimbursement, the entire amount that would be leaving my account would be the 91,586. If there's reimbursements that go back and forth between the library and their funding from the county or however that works, not necessarily sure that would be me. That might be in finance.
How do we get clarification on that?
I think we'd have to ask Steve, wouldn't we, to clarify that? Either way, this will have to be done, though.
I do know, and again, I'll throw this information out there. I believe that part of the roof last year, again, when the bill came in, my understanding was that expenditure came out of my budget and there was some reimbursement that took place from the library.
Well, as well as the sign too.
You're talking about the marquee sign out here. Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I don't know how they do that percentage, Phil. We'd have to ask Steve probably to let us know, because the library is such a special animal, because they're not, it's kind of like,
yes,
they don't pay for everything. They pay for just fractions of what they,
and I am asking.
yeah, I think, let's get that. Is that gonna, you want us to hold up on this, or can we keep moving ahead? How are you feeling about?
We can move ahead,
Okay.
but we hear different things and I think we need clarification.
Have that clarification at village board? And you could pull it from the consent.
Will Steve be at village board next?
No, he
He
won't.
won't be there.
Oh, he won't. That's right. He's on
He'll have a
vacation.
new knee.
Okay.
What about the budget?
Yeah, I bet the budget director can figure it out. Yeah. And maybe he could clarify that at the village board meeting.
Well, it might be an attorney question though also.
One of us can
Yeah, we'll figure it
locate
out.
the source of the money between
you.
us.
Knowing that, let's keep it off the consent agenda, so in case somebody forgets to pull it off the consent agenda, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Any more discussion? We'll vote, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Emerald Ash Borer,
Sorry, making a note for myself.
treatment, Emerald Ash Borer treatment.
Thank you. Yeah, it seems to be an annual one, and I do remember some questions from last year that I've got some information about. I'm going to say it was probably about a decade ago when Emerald Ash Borer started really getting into our area, and we as a village made a choice that we were going to try to salvage a certain part of that population, and we knew we were going to do that by biannual treatment. So again, every other year, we're treating a certain portion of the ash trees that we've chosen to save. This year, we're treating approximately 72 ash trees. And we did go out for a proposal with actually a large number of places. We had 4 responses. We're recommending using Crawford Tree and Landscape to complete the Emerald Ash Borer treatment project in an amount not to exceed $4,309.76. That does come right from the non-borrowed street tree maintenance account, so that's coming from our general ledger tree maintenance account 10-553-530-5290. I will add, I remember trustee Kaminsky, you had asked last year about how long we might expect to continue treating. We think that we're going to have about another 5 years of treating on this schedule. And then when working with Wachtell very closely, we think that we're going to be able to put this onto a 3-year schedule. So there'll still be some treatment that goes beyond 5 years. But again, whether we break the group of trees and treat them evenly every 3 years, or we treat for 2 years and take a year off, there would be some sort of savings coming toward the village.
Okay. So the
approximately.
majority are survivors, these trees that are treated.
Yeah, and each year, again, we just worked with Wachtell on our GIS upgrades, so all of our trees that are in GIS just got evaluated and updated. And each year as we get ready to do this project, they go out and take a look at those trees again. Again, when the trees leaf out, we're seeing really good success with it. I mean, there's some big, beautiful ash trees in Fireman's Park that look fantastic. Yeah.
Cool. One more dumb question. At $10,000 from Buckley Tree Service, is everybody using the same treatment here, or are they doing something extra special?
No, they're not. Again, whether we're planting trees, treating trees, removing trees, Wachtell is working with us to put a spec together that we're putting out to these people. So everybody's bidding on the same thing. Yeah, they're kind of an outlier there.
I make a motion to award the contract to Crawford Tree and Landscape, not to exceed $4,309.76, and come out of account 10-553-530-5290.
Second that.
Any more discussion? Vote, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. It's a unanimous committee. Next, salt, Wisconsin DOT salt contract.
Yeah, we bring this one forward every year. It's pretty straightforward. I think as far back as I can remember, and probably longer, the village has been part of the state contract, which affords us, priority in receiving our salt over private businesses and things of that nature. And again, we have about 21 years of history going all the way back when Jay and I started on this years and years ago. For you guys to kind of review, you can kind of see where we came in this year at 1,763 ton. With a milder winter, obviously we didn't use as much as we thought. I think everybody is pretty familiar here that you've got to commit to that. At some point, they give you, I think this year we had about 3 weeks from the time the letter came out to the time we had to make the commitment. So we usually do that out ahead, and we come back and just kind of let you guys know what's going on and keep you in the loop that way. We currently have about 3,100 ton on hand, and we've committed to up to 1,920 ton of salt in the 2023 season. That would come in the form of 1,600 of seasonal fill, and the optional vendor reserve at 320 ton. At this moment, we don't know the contract price. That comes out sometime over summer. And when we get that price, we'll put that together with what we're contractually obligated to do, and we'll make sure that as we present the budget in fall, that the money is there to make our purchase. So again, we're just recommending remaining part of the Wisconsin DOT bid process.
Make a motion to remain part of the WisDOT bid process.
Second that.
Discussion?
I'm assuming that buying it on our own is not going to get us any better price than what Wisconsin gets.
And again, whether it gets us a better price or not, to me, the comfort comes in when you do have a salt shortage and you've got some priority
You've
over
got
other
it.
people. I think that also is worth something. And I think the way the contracts are written, we've got some. Obviously, if there's nothing to give because a barge can't get in, they can't give it. But when it gets here and it starts to go out, there's a pecking order in how it goes out. And I think being part of this contract helps us out that way.
We have a motion and we have a second. And we'll vote, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Finally, moving on to the budget amendment for the wastewater truck.
Thank you, everyone.
Waste-
So back in January, this committee authorized the carryover of $55,000 for the truck we were unable to get in the 2021 budget due to the short window of ordering for fleet vehicles. So we were pre-approved to spend up to that amount when the window opened this year, which is coming in the next couple of weeks. Ewald, which has the state bid, notified us that there's a 14.5% price increase for 2023 model year on fleet vehicles, which exceeds my budgeted amount by $6,000. So I'm here requesting a budget amendment not to exceed $6,000 for the purchase of this vehicle, and knowing that our trade-in will be somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000, would offset the majority, if not all, of that price increase.
Committee? I think this is happening all over the place, these increases. There's not much we can do about them. We have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to amend the budget from the amount not to exceed $6,000 for the purchase of the wastewater truck.
Second it.
Discussion? Vote, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, well, that concludes the main agenda items. How about, anybody have any questions under the status of projects? I have one. Scott, the lighting on Mequon Road is, how much longer does that take? Is it getting really dark out there at night?
Yeah, the poles.
That
are
would
up
be
there.
my question. They're all laying on the ground.
They're laying on the ground.
Next few days.
And there was some concrete work being done today
Yeah.
too.
There's 5 extra poles that are being installed through the process, through different locations of the project. That was what you saw being poured out there today, was one of the extra pole locations. And they've taken the eastern 1/3 of the project out of service. And that's per contract. They can do 1/3 at a time. Maximum is 1/3 out of service. So they can't darken another section until this one's.
Okay, I thought it was just going
back
to
up.
keep going like dominoes.
No, they can't darken anymore until this one is back in service.
Okay.
So that's why you see that eastern section with the poles being assembled out there, and they're pouring the new base and getting ready to pull wires. I think they have almost all the conduit pulled through there. And then they got to start bringing that up into the bases and pulling the wire and things like that. But majority of the time is just getting the conduit installed.
You think we'll see those up by the end of the week? Larry?
You might see some of them up, but not lit.
Not lit.
Yeah, yeah. There's some of them laying on the ground with the
There
heads
are-
on them and
yeah,
that already.
Looks great.
Yeah, so you'll start seeing them going up soon.
They look just like they did the day they were sitting up here, right?
Yeah. They look smaller.
You're gonna look smaller.
They do look smaller, don't they?
Yeah, they're pretty much on schedule. They're looking at being done sometime at the end of June, actually. And I think the majority of the work is getting that conduit pulled in the ground. After that, it's at, it's pretty much at their schedule. The ground has slowed them down a little bit in some places. They found some rock, chunks of rock, not bedrock, but chunks of rock buried in there from previous work. So they've had some obstacles, but otherwise they're moving along.
Anybody else have any questions about any of the projects? Hearing that we don't, let's set a meeting date. The next Wednesday, the first Wednesday in June would be June 1st. Does that work for everybody? Okay, so it'd be June 1st at 6 PM in this room. And with that, we will close this meeting at 7:39 PM. Thank you, everyone.
Fourth quarter?
I'll know that can change quickly.
That's worth it. It's the best part of the game anyways, fourth quarter. The only time they play.
I think I said 7:15.
Yeah,
We said June 1st?
Yeah, June 1st. No, that's all right.
Do you want to get to Ace Hardware? I got 20 minutes.